As the year began, we were making a documentary about making music and records in New Orleans. But circumstances have changed, and now we're all in a very different movie. Well, it's official. There will be no 2020. This week, the mayor, quickly backed up by the governor, announced that we can't anticipate returning to large gatherings this year. Which means no Essence Fest, no Fall Jazz Fest, no Voodoo Fest, no Nothin' Fest. Now, not having a music festival might seem like a small complaint to some. But our city and state's economies are deeply dependent on our culture, our food and music and hospitality. Jazz Festival alone has a $300 million impact on New Orleans. 10% of our workers make their living serving the world our rhythms and flavors. Jazz Fest, French Quarter Fest, these are our town's steel mill, the plant where everyone you know works. And the plant has been shut down. Every restaurant, every bar, every club, every listening room. In the past, if there was nothing paying, musicians could shake up a house party or just call some friends by to jam for no reason at all. But now, from concert halls to backroads bars, there is not a gig anywhere in the world. We'll take a look at what some of that means. But first, as always, last week's news. The governor announced what everyone knew already. The schools will not be reopening anytime before the end of the academic year in June. This caused a great collective groan from the region's parents, which was necessary to push the cloud of sulfur dioxide being spewed from the Chalmette refinery this weekend. A refinery spokesman said it was a nuisance odor, but sulfur dioxide is probably not something people should be breathing during a respiratory disease pandemic. More groaning could be heard from Todd Murphy, who heads the Chamber of Commerce in Jefferson Parish, next door to New Orleans. He called Mayor Cantrell's announcement about festivals risky, saying it could keep the region's economy from recovering. It's an interesting viewpoint, seeing as Jefferson's infection and death rates are about the same as New Orleans. It's not like the virus can't cross the parish line. It does so every day. Passing the stand where, instead of selling produce or band chocolate, the proprietors are hawking face masks. Still, Mr. Murphy's ideas seem downright sensible beside those of a certain Baton Rouge area pastor, whose name we will not repeat, who has gained national attention and an arrest record for keeping his church open for in-person services. So far, one of his parishioners is dead of the virus, and the lawyer fighting his case is positive as well. And to cap off a perfect week, the Reverend went on YouTube to tell his followers to donate their stimulus checks to him. One reaction to the pandemic we're happy to see get national attention is McCarty's Chicken and Fixin's innovative meal delivery system. It may look low-tech, but it works and it keeps the social distancing. But the news that has us tuning in every day is the noon release of case and fatality numbers by the state. As of Sunday, Louisiana was reporting just under 24,000 cases and 1,296 deaths. The number of hospitalizations and patients on ventilators is falling, with the Ochsner hospital chain reporting COVID-19 admissions are down to half of what they were at the peak of this first wave. What this means is that stay-at-home orders and social distancing are working exactly as designed, keeping the caseload to a level that doesn't overwhelm the hospital system. And that's what we'll continue to practice, though it means a year without festivals. Julie Posner is the undisputed queen of festivals. Every year she compiles Huli's Louisiana Festival and Events Calendar, a staggering compendium of over 300 events from the Angola Prison Rodeo to the Zydeco Festival. We spoke with her in late March, when spring festivals were announcing postponements, which have since become cancellations.
Festival. Oh, Jazz Fest. All of this was going to put money in our pockets in New Orleans. The restaurants, the hotels, the musicians, the tentacles of this virus are amazing. And we just have to go with the flow right now. So not go to these festivals because they're not taking place. Now with the festivals, a lot of the festivals in small towns, this is how they raise money to put roofs on top of their fire department, or they carry on a tradition too. All of the festivals, fall and spring, they supply the town with money and fame. The Crawfish Etouffee Cook-Off in Eunice, Louisiana. You can be the World Championship. I think that's what they call it too, the festival, World Championship, Crawfish Etouffee Cook-Off. So, when you think about the bigger festivals though, who is not going to make an income? Who is suddenly left without any influx of money? Food vendors, construction workers, the beer companies, the big companies, the people that build stages, the musicians. All of these people are affected, and it's a lot of information. It's hard to wrap your head around how this affects so many people. All of us are gonna be playing catch up with our money. We're gonna have to start paying bills back once we can. And going to a festival, even though we want to support locally, that might be a problem too. We're only gonna have so much money to spread around.
So, here we are, with 10% of our workforce unable to work. In an upcoming report, we'll talk to musicians about the frustrations of being unable to play. But right now, we want to know how all of our culture workers, not just the musicians, are going to make it through the coming months. For 20 years, Howie Kaplan has run the Howling Wolf nightclub, as well as managing bands like Big Sam's Funky Nation and the Rebirth Brass Band. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, he knew the workers of New Orleans' culture economy were going to need help, both immediate and long-term.
Back after Katrina, you had Dragos in Metairie. They would set up in their parking lot. They would do a big pasta dish or a big rice dish. It wasn't very fancy, it didn't have anything to it. It was just a way to get people food. And they were doing hundreds of meals every day. And so volunteered for a bit there doing that. The Wolf had reopened October 15th, but nothing was done. Everything was destroyed. And I'm like, first thing I thought was the musicians, the people that we've been working with for the last 20 years, the Wolf the last 30 plus years, these are all folks that are gonna need help. So we came up with the Meals for Musicians idea, reached out to the New Orleans Musicians Clinic. It's not just about the meals that they're having today, it's also about how they're going to survive, how are they going to pay rent, how are they going to take care of health care, how are they going to feed themselves. And that's what the clinic's been very, very good at. They have over 3,000 clients from their 23 years they've been doing it, so this was a very positive step forward, and we included obviously the hospitality workers because they are culture bearers too. Folks in the hotels, people driving that Uber from the airport to the Airbnb telling you about, their mom. Folks in the bars and restaurants, everybody. These are all culture bearers. People come to New Orleans based on all of this. Let's be honest, I don't think you're going to see any scenario in the near future where people are going to want to stand around 500 other people. So there's a cure or a vaccine or some kind of treatment that turns this into a less dangerous thing, less communicable, then people aren't going to want to go stand around a bunch of people. We've been following the news everywhere, trying to figure out kind of what the trends are everywhere else, and I don't see anybody doing what New Orleans is doing. I think we just already know how to do it. The floods in Baton Rouge, you had dozens and dozens of restaurants that worked with local aid groups. We were one of them, with a bunch of others, just making trays of food. New Orleans takes care of our own really, really well.
Yes, we do. Between Katrina, Rita, Deepwater Horizon, the Baton Rouge floods, and everything before and since, we have a lot of experience taking care of our own. And we'll need every bit of it to get through this year. But we're lucky, probably luckier than we deserve to be, because we have each other. Until next time, we wish you good health and good friends.